Hello my friends, and welcome to MB Shoe Doc, where we take the ordinary and make it extraordinary. We will be covering the art of patina and shine, and learn to breathe new life into old shoes. So grab your dyes and polishes, and get ready to get your hands dirty, and let's dive right into today's project. Alright, I have what I hope will be an exciting project today. This is a pair I got off of eBay from Stephen and Andi Bogan. And some of you may know them as Dabondo 1 on eBay. So they are the #1 seller of pre-owned or sometimes factory defects, new factory defects Allen Edmonds. So they have usually at any given time like thousands of shoes on eBay, thousands of Allen Edmonds pairs in new or very lightly worn condition, factory defects and returns. So this is a pair of Allen Edmonds sneakers here, some leather sneakers, and clearly you can see the problem. So this sneaker much lighter compared to this one. So something like this is usually, they were sitting in maybe a store, and this one was exposed to the sun, and so it was sun bleached. And you can even look at the laces here. You know, I don't think this is a factory defect. If you look at the laces, you can see where there's darker spots and lighter spots. So this is sun bleached, I would say. So what we're going to do, we're going to look at stripping both of these down and doing a custom patina on them so that they will match. First step, of course, will be to unlace them. So this is the exact sort of thing that I look for, something with just a finish defect. You know, this is easily fixed with some patina work, and you know, again, Dabondo has tons of great shoes. They give you a really good deal on something like this. With a factory defect, they'll accept reasonable offers, and I think if you look here, this is more proof that it is sun bleached. You can see where the color kind of fades in and out, and if you look here, you know, there's like no wear whatsoever to the sole. So I think these were just sitting in a storefront, got sun bleached on the toes. I don't believe this is a dye defect, or it wouldn't be different underneath the laces. So this is ideal for patina. We will look at stripping both and see if we can't get them to match a little better. Alright, we got our acetone. We have our amazing stripping gloves, which are dishwashing gloves. And we got some cotton balls. So what we're going to do is basically go over the entire shoe, try to pull off any finish. Or even the sun bleached one, you can see that there's a decent amount of color going to be coming off of this thing. So get them both stripped as pale as possible, so that we'll have a nice even base to start from. Taping off the soles for this next part when I do the dye work. I really don't want the dye to get on this white sole, and so I'm just using this painter's tape on here, laying it across, trying to kind of push it down into this crease there, and then just very gently cutting along here along the contour of the sole. And then after I've cut it, I'm just kind of peeling this back. And it just takes a little bit of time and patience here to do this, but it'll save me a big mess later. Alright, so we got them stripped and taped off. Now we're going to get a nice light base coat to try to even things up. So I'm using Fibing's buckskin here. And I will point out a few things. So this lower part here is leather also. I did end up stripping that. In doing so, you know, as the finish is coming off, it kind of smears some coloration onto the stitching here. So, you know, I don't know if there's any great way of completely avoiding, you know, any coloration getting onto the stitching. And since I'm going to be dyeing this area anyway, I think it's a little bit unavoidable. I think no matter what, you will end up getting some color on the stitching. Now, a lot of it will wipe off. So you know that stitching's not really going to absorb the dye like the rest of the shoe, but at the same time, it's not going to be just 100% perfectly white afterwards either. So I was okay with that. You know, the only way to avoid it would be to not do any dye in that area at all, but I was afraid it wouldn't match the rest of the shoe, so the plan is to dye that area as well. So we get this base coat here on both of them, and hopefully it's going to even up the tone quite a bit. It is a pretty light color here. Got the base coat on both sneakers now. Looks much more even. We'll have to see how it looks after this dries completely, so we're going to let that sit for a while now. Alright, so we've let these dry. Moving on to the next phase here. Sapphire Havana. Alright, so we get the dye work finished on these. At least we think it's finished. Sometimes we don't know until we recondition. So using the Big 4, reconditioning the leather, and this will kind of reveal the true color as well. So sometimes when you recondition, it darkens up darker than you'd like. Sometimes it removes some dye and it turns out to be lighter than what you wanted. So sometimes there's a little adjustment you have to do afterwards. So you can see it did remove a little bit of color here, not too much. So we'll recondition both of these completely, and once it dries, we'll give it a little brushing. We'll see where we're at. I may end up adjusting the color slightly, but I'm thinking this is pretty close to where we want it to be. When you first put the conditioning lotion on, it does tend to darken up just a touch, but again, once it dries, then you really know what the color is at the end. So considering I've gone over the entire shoe, it's a very small amount of color that came off, which is good. So it really absorbed the dye well. There's not going to be a whole lot of adjusting to do. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how this turned out here. Not 100% finished. Deciding if I want to go a little bit darker kind of on the base here, make it a little bit more accented. But I don't think it's really necessary. I think this looks pretty nice. I decided that I am going to go just the tiniest bit darker, so I'm actually using Angela's dark brown here. I don't think it'll take much. But just on the kind of extreme edges here, I want to go darker. So I went over these one more time with that darker brown, just kind of darkening along the seams, make it a little bit more of a contrast. And so now I am just reconditioning these one more time with the Big 4. Yeah, I'm liking this just a little bit better, a little bit bolder look. So we'll get these conditioned the rest of the way. We'll take the tape off. There will likely be a few spots where there's a little bit of dye on the edge of this sole part, and so I'll probably have to clean that off with a little bit of alcohol and a Q-tip. And there could be some places where I need to touch up along this base here as well and darken it up. The tape, unfortunately, you know, it protected the sole pretty well, but it did slide around, so a few times it would slide up and cover some of the leather, a few times it would slide down and cover some of the rubber part, so it's just a little bit difficult to work with. Alright, looking good so far. We'll get them both rehydrated, get this tape off, see how we're looking. Got them cleaned up, laced up, and I am adding just a little bit of Saphir Mirror Gloss to these. I really don't need these to be shiny, but I think just a little bit of neutral wax like this is going to add a little bit of shine, but also protect the leather just a little bit. So I always like to add just a little bit of neutral wax to them. Now I'm not going to do a mirror shine or even close to that, so I'm just going to add like, you know, one coat of wax over the entire shoe here, and then just brush it, not going to buff it with the cloth. I think you can see a difference. This one's got a little shine, this one lacking just a bit. So I'll do this to both and give them a little brush afterwards, and I think we'll be ready. Add a little bit more wax to this lower part as well. Add just a little bit more shine to it. Alright, so totally finished up here with these. You can see it's got just a little bit of a shine to it now over the shoe, and really happy with how the patina worked out, how even they appear now to each other, and I think it really elevated the look of the sneaker overall, even nicer than it was new. So again, check out Dabondo 1 on eBay. They've got some amazing deals, amazing shoes on there. I'll show you one other one. This is a pair I got from them a couple years ago. So this was Allen Edmonds McAllister in their discontinued bourbon color. And if you look, I mean, this is the condition that they come in. I mean, hardly any wear. You can still see the tread on the sole here. So, they appear to be have been worn maybe once or twice. This is the kind of thing that you can find on there. Got shell cordovan, all the different models, boots and shoes. So absolutely check them out. I've been thrilled with everything I've got from them so far. So yeah, thanks again to Steve at Dabondo. Really appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity to work on these, and hopefully I can do more with you in the future.